Boom. Alright, so what you need to know is this tube back here got changed out. That stock factory plastic crap ain't gonna work. Put some good high pressure 300-pound hose on that. That thing is where you hook up your fuel pressure gauge from the factory. I just undid the Schrader valve out of that bad boy and turned that into my return. So now the truck does have a return system. The stock feed line's still sitting there. That's a 5/16 feed line. I just brazed on the end of that feed. I brazed on a dash fitting to go to AN. And I had an adapter that goes down, and it's 3/8 feed line all the way back. Now, the return comes off of the side of that back there. Now it's not, you know, it's not supposed to be a return, but it is now. And it comes over here to this fuel pressure regulator. Now this thing is set up with an FMU. It's hard lined with an FMU, with a 12-to-1 FMU. So this is a mechanical way of controlling your boost. This is set up extremely haggard right now with some zip ties and stuff, and just to see if it would work, and it does, and it runs great, and I love it. So under here, this is your rear end. I got up there and I did some work to the pump. Basically this, where that hooks up down there, that's your factory feed line, but that's now your return, using that hard line underneath the frame as a return now. And I plumbed it right into the top of that fuel pump up there with some fittings. And the inside of the pump, that's the cool part. You can't hardly see it. Let me see if I can get the camera up in there. If you can tell that it's a hard line coming out of the top of the fuel pump now, where the fuel pressure regulator used to be. I made a little piece that fit in there, and then I bolted it down and made it quick release on the inside and the outside. So it's like a factory GM quick release fuel line now, 3/8 on that bad boy. Now that thing twists around and runs down the frame, and then the return comes back and just drains right in the top, just plumbed in with some little brass fittings. So, and obviously the pump got changed out in the factory location because I wanted to keep the fuel level gauge and all that stuff. So now it's a Walpole 255 in there. But yeah, do a little funny stickers on the door. I think that's everything covered though, as far as what I had to do to make it work and make it run. That's just a eBay FMU, eBay fuel pressure regulator. I'm going to change out this hose, that braided hose. I don't like that thing. I don't like the aluminum fittings either. Just as a little tip, I would go with steel fittings. Make sure you get all good steel and brass fittings. Don't get that aluminum crap. You can use the regulator because it's cheap, but don't use the fittings. Go ahead and get some decent fittings from somewhere in your town, because all this stuff's easily obtainable, like that adapter piece for the fuel return and the dash fitting piece for the feed line. That's all easily obtainable stuff. So that's basically it. You just keep an eye on your stuff, make sure you don't have no leaks, and you know, I double did clamps on all my hoses and stuff just for good measure, but it seems to work. Everything seems to be pretty good. It definitely sticks right on about 10.8 now on the AFR. So yeah, 10.8 with hammer down under full boost at, you know, 5 pounds or whatever. I had to redo my my gauge, my O2 gauge for my Innovate wideband. I completely melted that bad boy to the manifold. So make sure to block off heat with a little heat tape on some license plates. Keep it away from your factory ECU. But get you a wideband. You're gonna need it. Now you can see a little better what's going on. There's the oil sandwich and the feed. The feed's on the bottom coming off of that side directly opposite of that chrome nut, and then those two things on the side just loop back to each other. That's how that sandwich works. It just flows through the loop and then into the motor. But so the feed line comes up and it's right there. Then there's the dump for the wastegate, and I kind of beat the headers around the frame there. Kind of made that flange stick right out the bottom, so you can see my pipe and stuff now. So the Y comes this way to a flange right where the frame starts to kick up from the side, and then you just flange it and bring it up on this side of the frame all the way up to the turbo, and then the actual exhaust off the turbo goes right back down in the factory spot. And then the obviously the charge tubes come right off of there, turn, go underneath, twist through the bumper. Ooh. Yeah, so now, yeah. I think before this thing was running on 43 psi from the factory, and now hopefully you guys can dig it. You'll have to do a little modifications, but it's easily obtainable. Stock ECU, no tune, just a FMU and a few more pounds of fuel pressure on the rail. You got to make your rail be able to hold it. You have to change that tube back there, but other than that, it goes, definitely goes. So I will try to get some footage of this tomorrow or something. It's too dang cold right now. It just sits there and idles back and forth between about 13.5, maybe 13 and 15.5. So that idle, it just kind of sits right there, but as soon as you give it gas, it jumps down. Pretty stoked on it. So the gauge, now I got my fuel pressure set right at about 60 pounds, and it seems to like it right there. So, I don't know, I guess we'll play with it and see what happens. I deleted my AC. I got the shorter belt and deleted my AC. Now that bad was just extra. I kept the other belt just in case I need to break that one. But she seems to be running good. Just turn up the pressure on the stock system and it just purrs. Doesn't even have a check engine light now. Everything seems to be working good. Alright, just a quick explanation as to what this thing does. This FMU is just a big button that cuts off your return and makes the pressure build up on your fuel rail. That's all it is. So when the fuel comes from the rail through the regulator, and it's set at 55 pounds now instead of 60, sorry, I turned it down. 55 pounds gets regulated. Anything extra comes out the bottom into here and just free flows through the return back into the tank, unless this vacuum line senses boost, and when this goes positive pressure, it pushes down on this button right on the center of the FMU. Just pushes down on a little steel button and makes that plate cut off the return. So in turn your fuel pressure will rise with boost. That's how that thing works. That's all it is. Also, this is a boost reference to going to the regulator. You gotta have a certain kind of regulator to do that, but yeah, that's all it is. Once this thing senses boost, it pushes down on the button and cuts off your return, so the pressure builds up with the pump. So that's it. And that hoop hose, you have to replace that hoop hose. These little guys right here, both sides of that fuel rail need to be replaced. Been driving it all morning. It don't have any check engine lights.